Dear friend, welcome back to our chapter-by-chapter journey through Moses, the servant of God. Today's chapter brings us to one of the most breathtaking scenes in all of Scripture, the passage of the Red Sea. This was the moment when everything hung in the balance. An entire nation was trapped mountains ahead, sea in front, enemies behind. But in that moment, God didn't just rescue his people. He revealed his power, his presence, and his unwavering commitment to those who trust him. Let's walk through it together. It was just past midnight when the people began to move. 2.5 million Israelites, men and women, children and elders, herds and wagons, all rising up from 400 years of slavery to step into freedom. What a sight it must have been. A nation in motion, marching under the stars, heading toward the unknown. From every direction, the tribes gathered at a place called Sukkoth. There, they stopped, rested, and ate unleavened bread made from the dough they had carried on their shoulders. Soon they reached Etham, the edge of the wilderness. The green fields of Egypt ended. The dry, vast desert began. And yet, they kept going not because they knew the way, but because they were following someone who did. For there, above them in the sky, rose a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. It was not a natural cloud. It was the visible presence of the Almighty. It led them, shaded them, lit their path, and shielded them from danger. At night it glowed fire, alive and watching. By day it loomed large and soft, a shelter from the desert sun. And once when they needed it most, it would stand, as a wall between them and their enemies. That cloud was more than a sign. It was a promise in motion. And maybe that's why Jesus once said, "I am the light of the world." John 8:12. He was connecting himself to that pillar. What the cloud was to Israel, he is to us. Jesus is our guide, leading us through life by his Spirit, his word, and his gentle providence. He is our shield, covering us from temptation, pride, and discouragement. And he is our light, giving us clarity when the path seems dark. So, fellow pilgrim, open the curtain of your tent. Look out into the night, and you will see more than stars. You will see the quiet glow of God's presence. Now, let's talk about the route. The shortest way to the Promised Land was northeast just over 100 miles through Philistine territory. But God didn't lead them that way. Why? Because the people weren't ready. One glimpse of war and they would have run back to Egypt. They needed time to grow in faith, to see God's care, to become his people. So God led them another way, a longer path, yes, but one that matched their strength and their need. God led them about. Exodus 13:18. Sometimes God's leading doesn't make sense at first. It feels slow, indirect, even confusing, but he knows what we can bear. He knows what we need to learn. And his timing is never wrong. Eventually, the cloud turned. It didn't go forward. It went backward. It led them to a place that made no sense. On one side, open desert. On the other, a mountain range. In front of them, the Red Sea. Behind them, the road they'd just come from. They were hemmed in, trapped. Even the most inexperienced traveler could see it. And panic spread quickly. The people turned on Moses. "Is this the way to freedom? Did you bring us out here to die? Weren't there enough graves in Egypt?" Moses stood alone, and yet they did not flinch, because Moses had learned something. He had learned that God doesn't make mistakes. Friend, maybe you feel like you've been led into a dead end, a place of fear. Confusion, no way forward, but listen closely. The cloud brought you here, and if God brought you here, he will bring you through. Moses looked out over that sea and said words we still echo today. "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Exodus 14:13. Now, let's look at what happened behind them. Pharaoh, meanwhile, was having second thoughts. His slave workforce was gone. His kingdom had slowed to a halt. His pride burned with regret. And worse, the Israelites had left Egypt carrying gold, silver, and clothing. The people had given it to them in fear, hoping they'd never return. Now, Pharaoh wanted it all back. He wanted revenge. So he summoned his greatest army. 600 elite chariots, soldiers, horsemen, weapons, and they raced across the desert. By day 5 of the Exodus, the Israelites saw dust rising on the horizon, dark figures approaching, and by nightfall, Pharaoh's army was camped nearby, waiting for morning to attack. Fear swept through the camp. They felt trapped, helpless, and doomed. But Moses stood firm. He didn't know how God would deliver them, But he knew he would. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still. Exodus 14:14. And the next moment, God acted. As we'll see in the next chapter, the sea would part. The people would walk through on dry ground, and the enemy would be swept away. But for now, hold on to this. Sometimes God brings you to the edge to show you what only He can do. If you feel surrounded, remember this moment. If fear is pressing in, stand still. The cloud still leads. The fire still burns. The God of Moses is still the God who delivers. Thank you for listening to Chapter 11, the passage of the Red Sea. If this story has blessed you, please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to our channel. We're walking daily through the spiritual journey of Moses and beyond. We'll see you next time in Chapter 12.